I've been making Nuzlocke videos for just over a year now on this channel, and for over a decade either on my own or in the bowels of the internet, where I really hope none of you ever find them. But across those hundreds of hours, there's something that I've never done before. I've never just completed a regular hardcore Nuzlocke of a lot of the games in the core series. Most of the Nuzlockes I've ever done are either randomizers or fan games. So this will be the start of a new 9-part series where I complete a hardcore Nuzlocke of every Pokemon region, from Kanto to Paldea. And if we get to 25,000 subs by the time I finish this series, I'll add a 10th in for Lencher's Arceus. You can see a list of the games I'll be playing in the description down below, but if you didn't know, in a hardcore Nuzlocke, if a Pokemon faints is considered dead. The level cap is the next leader's ace, no active items can be used in battle, and we play the games on set mode. To add another layer of the challenge, dupes will be recognized cross-region. So if I catch this rat on Route 1, it's my one and only rat for the entire challenge. Which totally makes sense because Ash never caught a duplicate of any Pokemon. Oh wait, hold on a second. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing, leaving a comment, or maybe giving that thumb a little tickle. Every little bit helps. Almost 90% of the people that watch my videos aren't subscribed, and most of you have watched more than one video. Please, for the algorithm. But let's kick things off in Kanto, where it all began. And for our first starter options over here in Kanto, we have Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander. Because I'm going to be trying to catch as few Pokemon as humanly possible, we are going to be starting off with Bulbasaur because it's the best starter for a Nuzlocke. And we're going to be naming our little Saur Salad. And while Venusaur isn't necessarily known for his speed, I'll take its timid nature overall. Before we can leave Professor Oak's lab, Rando's going to challenge us to our first ever rival battle. He starts off by sending in a Charmander, and we're going to send Celadon. Our first tackle does effectively nothing because we're very timid, and he's going to lower our attack even more with a growl. We somehow managed to get a crit, which is awesome, and ultimately we managed to take down Rando's Charmander, getting a very nice number of experience points. And there's going to be 2 new friends I'm hoping to make before we can face off against Brock, and I'm really excited for you to meet them. Over on Route 1, we're going to grab ourselves a Rattata, who we're going to nickname Pizza. And our lonely little pizza rat has guts, which should really come in handy. And then over on Route 22, we're going to grab ourselves a Spearow. And while this little drummy is my least favorite Kanto bird by a mile, removing it from the encounter board for Heart Gold and Soul Silver is going to be huge. And you'll see why later. And a rash nature is effectively useless on this guy. And with our 3 friends at the level cap, it's now time for us to take on Brock and his rock hard boys. Brock starts off by sending in his Geodude, and we're going to send Saladin. What can be said for a Geodude versus a Bulbasaur? Not much. Once his ace Onix comes in, it goes for a bind on us, somehow outspeeding us, but once again, one and done for the Onix, and we are moving on. But if only I was slightly better at math, our little Salad would have grown up. And while fighting our way over to Mount Moon, Salad is going to evolve into an Ivysaur. After beating up this rock nerd, we're going to grab ourselves Lord Helix himself as a little good luck charm. And before facing off against Rando over on Nugget Bridge, we're going to force feed Pizza a bunch of candy so that way they can evolve into Raticate. Over by Nugget Bridge, we run into Rando, who's stuffing a bunch of chicken nuggets into his pockets. He turns to us declaring that everybody knows the only way to cross Nugget Bridge is by filling your pockets with nuggies, otherwise you'll descend into the cold depths of the Cerulean Bay. Going for a Hyper Fang, we score a huge hit, getting him way down to the red. On the following turn, we miss our quick attack as a Gust comes in, doing a lot of door damage to us than I thought it would. And unfortunately, we miss on the following turn, but we can eventually connect, KOing the Pidgeotto. Out next comes his Rattata, so we're going to swap out, sending in Salad as it goes for a quick attack. Going for a Vine Whip, we do just over 50% as it lowers our defense. And after getting us to about half, we can take it down the following turn. Next out is going to come is Charmander, so we are going to swap out, sending in Drummy, as an Ember comes in, slamming us down. Going for a Peck, we don't even do a third, as now we're down to just 8 HP. Swapping out and sending in Pizza, a Scratch gets us down just a bit, and we can connect with a Hyper Fang, getting the KO. Finally, his Abra comes in, and we all know what happens to Abras, but unfortunately I miss a couple times, but once we connect, it's done, baby. We're moving on. While fighting our way across Route 24 and 25, our Drummy is going to evolve into the majestic, the excellent, the just fine Fearow. At the end of Route 25, we run into Bill's lab, where we see that he's somehow fused himself up with a Clefairy, and I didn't think that fusion was a thing in this universe, but alright, pretty cool. He asks if we can help him reverse the fusion, and we agree. And when he steps out of the teleporter back in his human form, I feel an irresistible attraction to him now. One I hadn't sensed when he was in his Clefairy form. Is this how cute charm works? Have I been enthralled? He approaches me in what appears to be slow motion and slips an SSN ticket into my front pocket, placing his hand over my heart for just a moment. Will I see you aboard? Yes, Bill. I'll meet you there. And now the time has come for us to face off against Misty and her wet and wild fellers. Misty starts off by sending in a Staryu, and we're going to send Celadon. The Staryu outspeeds us, going for a Water Pulse, and unfortunately we get confused, but we break through with a Vine Whip, getting it way down into the red. On the following turn, Misty's going to use her Super Potion, so this super works out as we break out of our confusion and grab the Oko. After digging 22 and equipped with the fantastic power of Leaves, a Swift comes in on the Starmie doing some decent damage, and unfortunately we miss. But once we do manage to connect, we do some massive damage, getting him down to about a quarter. And once we get knocked down to about 25% ourselves, one more Razor Leaf takes down the Starmie, and we're moving on. Over on the SSN, we run into Rando again, whose pants have unusual grease stains coming from the pockets. Has he not changed his pants since she stuffed all those chicken nuggets in there? It's been like a month, dude. That's disgusting. Rando's gonna start off by sending in his Pidgeotto, and we're gonna send Drummy in. Going for a peck, we do about a quarter as a Gust comes in doing basically nothing. After he follows up with a quick attack, we can get it down to about a third, and another peck grabs the KO. Next up is going to be his Raticate. So we're going to go for a peck, and we get a one-shot Oko. Oh my goodness. Next up is going to be his Kadabra. And going for a Pursuit, we do about 60% as a Confusion comes in doing some massive damage to us. But fortunately we outspeed, so one more Pursuit takes it down. Finally, when his Charmeleon comes in, we're going to swap out, sending in Pizza as an Ember comes in doing some damage to us. On the following turn, we go for a dig, and the Charmeleon throws down a Smoke Bomb at our feet. But all it does is cover our exit as we come up, smacking him in the face, doing a lot of damage. And on the following turn, we can go for a Secret Power, grabbing the KO. And after we leave the SSN, Bill never showed. My heart, my love. And now it's time for us to take on Lieutenant Surge and his electric Pokemon. He starts off by sending in Voltorb, and we're going to send in Pizza. In an effort to try to make Surge use his potions on the Voltorb, we go for a Secret Power, knocking him way down into the red. And after healing the Voltorb up, two more take it down. On the next turn, he sends in his Pikachu, and we go for a dig as he sets up a double team. And lucky for us, we can grab the Oko. When Raichu comes in, we manage to connect with a dig, getting him down to about a quarter as he sets up a double team on the following turn. Going for a Secret Power, unfortunately we miss, and a Thunder Wave paralyzes us. A Shockwave knocks us down lower than I'm comfortable with, so we're going to swap out and send in Salad as another Shockwave comes in, doing some chip damage. And after taking another hit, one Razor Leaf knocks the Raichu out, and we're moving on. Over on Route 10, we're going to grab ourselves a Voltorb. And Gumball comes equipped with an incredibly unuseful Impish Nature. For our next party member, we're going to grab our Eevee over in Celadon City, who we're going to nickname Bean. We're then immediately going to expose Bean to a Firestone, evolving him into a Flareon. Yeah, this gym is great. It's full of sexy women. After getting to the level cap, it's going to be time for us to take on Erica and her grassy goons. She starts off by sending in Victory Bell, and we're going to send Bean in. Going for a Flamethrower, we managed to grab the Yoko, and next up is going to come our Tangela, and honestly, what can be said for Tangela, except it goes down as well. When our final Pokemon Vileplume comes in, we go for a Flamethrower once again, grabbing the Yoko, defeating Erica. After heading into the casino where they let children gamble, we see this Team Rocket Grunt who's guarding this really cool looking poster. And when we check out this really cool looking poster, there's a switch behind it. And who wouldn't press it? And we descend into the unknown dungeons. A small child, alone. While fighting our way through the rocket base, Salad is going to evolve into its final, glorious form of Venusaur. After fighting our way through the rocket base, we run into Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket. He tries to offer us a job, but I tell him that I'm shutting down this entire illegal child gambling ring. Giovanni starts off by sending in his Onix, and we're going to send Celadon. A Razor Leaf from Salad, Oko's the Onix, no problem. When his Rhyhorn comes in next, we can do the exact same thing, grabbing another Oko. When his Ace Kangaskhan comes in, Salad goes for a Razor Leaf, doing about a third, which is a lot less than I anticipated. Afraid of how hard this thing hits, we set up a Leech Seed on the following turn as a Tail Whip lowers our defense. We then swap out into Bean, and all the Kangaskhan does is go for another Tail Whip. After it shakes his butt at us a little bit more, one Flamethrower from Bean is enough to finish off the Kangaskhan and drive Team Rocket out of Celadon City. In Pokemon Tower, we run into Rando yet again. He says he's here celebrating the life of his Raticate, who suddenly succumbed to food poisoning. He's not exactly sure why, but Nurse Joy said it might have something to do with the 3-month-old chicken nuggets that were in his pants. Poor Ratty. Going for a Thunderbolt with Gumball, we can KO the Pidgeotto in just one shot. Next up is going to come his Gyarados, who's going to intimidate us, but fortunately for us, we will not be intimidated by Gyaradoses. And an Oko knocks out that big boy. Out next comes this Execute, and we go for a Sonic Boom, doing about a third, as a Confusion comes in, doing about the same to us. After swapping out and sending in Pizza, a Confusion does basically nothing to us, but unfortunately we do get confused and smack ourselves in the face. The Execute then sets up a Leech Seed, as we go for a Secret Power, getting him down into the red and get the Paralysis off, so on the following turn, one more knocks it out. Out next is going to be his Kadabra, and since we're still seated, we're going to swap out sending in Bean, and a Bite, Oko's the Kadabra. When his final Pokemon Charmeleon comes in, we go for a Shadow Ball on Bean, getting him way down, as he for some reason tries to use Ember on a Flashfire Flareon. So after just one more Shadow Ball, we defeat Rando. He can go more and somewhere else. At Pokemon Tower, Gumball is going to evolve into an Electrode.
At the top of Pokemon Tower, we gonna get this old guy. Thank you for saving me. Would you like to play with Snorlax? He's my favorite Pokemon. Okie dokie, goodbye.
We're going to play this flute with this sleeping bear. And then because I want to save Snorlax for a different game, we're going to run away from that bear. And now it's time for us to take on Koga and his poison Pokemon. Koga starts off by setting in Coughing, and we're going to send Bean in. Going for a Shadow Ball, we're going to do some pretty good damage as he goes for a Sludge. Following up with another Shadow Ball, we can grab the KO. Next up is going to come his Muck, and we're going to go for a Dig. Unfortunately for me, it's going to set up an Acid Armor, so when we hit it with a Dig, it does a lot less than I'd like. Now that he's at +4 defense, we're going to switch things up, going for a Flamethrower, doing some good damage, getting him down into the red. This is going to prompt Koga to use his Hyper Potion, so going for a Flamethrower yet again, we're going to do about a third. After another one, we get him way down into the red, he uses Minimize, and then Koga uses his second potion. And after he gets us down to about half, we can finally take him down after a couple of Flamethrowers. Next up is going to come his second Coughing, so going for another Flamethrower again, we can grab the Oko. Finally, his Ace Wheezing comes in, and a Flamethrower gets him down below half as a Sludge gets us down to just 16 HP, but fortunately it does not poison us, so just one more grabs the KO, and we earn our Soul Badge. We got a random Goldeen in the Safari Zone, that way we could surf in Fuchsia City to ensure we could get an encounter of Psyduck, who is going to be our 6th and hopefully final team member. And while grinding a little bit closer to the level cap, Taffy is going to evolve into a Golduck. Over in Silph Co, we run into Rando yet again. He says he used to come here with his grandfather on business trips and that their commissary had the best nuggets you would ever imagine. But shortly after he got here, Team Rocket invaded the building. And he says if we think we're getting our hands on those chicken nuggets, we got another thing coming. And the battle begins. A quick attack does some chip damage to us as we can grab the Oko with a Thunderbolt. Out next is Gyarados, and after he lowers our useless attack, another Thunderbolt can Oko this thing, no problem. Out third is going to be his Execute, so we swap out sending in Bean as he goes for a Stun Spore. Now that it outspeeds us, a Confusion confuses us, but fortunately we can break through and grab the one shot with a Flamethrower. Next out's Alakazam, who decides to set up a Calm Mind, and after we slap ourselves in the face, we snap out of it just to be paralyzed. After setting up a Future Sight and another Calm Mind, eventually we can break through with a Shadow Ball, grabbing the KO. When his Charizard comes in, we're going to swap out and send in Taffy. And after having our accuracy lowered a bunch, we throw a bunch of water on it, getting it way down into the red on the first shot. And after taking a flamethrower, which does a lot more damage than I anticipated, and another one gets us down to 21 and burns us, we pick up the KO, defeating Rando, and I think I will have some of those nuggets, thank you very much. We run into Giovanni again in the Silph President's office. He's had enough of these meddling kids. And the battle begins. Giovanni starts off with a Nidorino, and we're going to send in Taffy. Going for a Surf, we can get it down to just one shot with a crit. Next up is going to be his Nidoqueen, and we're going to try to do the same thing here. Almost getting it down in just one shot as a double kick comes in, doing some trip damage to us. And just one more Surf takes it out. Next up is going to be Kangaskhan, and after it goes for the fake out, doing some decent damage to us, we can strike back with a Surf, grabbing another crit and the Oko. Finally, his Rhyhorn comes in, and a ×4 super effective Surf is more than enough to take down Giovanni's final Pokemon. And with that, Giovanni and Team Rocket blast off from Silph Co. And now it's time for us to take on Sabrina and her Psychic Pokemon. She starts off by sending in Kadabra, and we're going to send Bean in. The Kadabra sends up a Future Sight, which I didn't think it would be faster than me, but whatever, we go for a Shadow Ball. Next up is going to come her Mr. Mime, so we're going to go for another Shadow Ball, grabbing the Oko on it as well. Up third is going to be her Venomoth, and we're going to swap out and send in Pizza as she goes for a Psybeam, doing some decent damage to us. And after taking the Future Sight attack, we are going to swap back out and send Beam back in as another Psybeam comes in doing effectively nothing. For some reason I used a Shadow Ball and not a Flamethrower, so we corrected on the following turn. When our ace Alakazam comes in, it starts off by setting up a Calm Mind, but we can go for just one Shadow Ball, grab the Oko, and defeat Sabrina. Alrighty, now it's time for us to take on Blaine and his Fire Boys. He starts off with Growlithe, and we send in Taffy. A single Surf is enough to take out the Growlithe, the Ponyta, his Rapidash, and even his Arcanine. And with that, we've earned our Volcano Badge. After stepping outside the Cinnabar Gym, we run into Bill again. He pulls out another cruise ticket. This one, Sevi Island 1. Private yacht for 2. But I will not be fooled again, Bill. This gym is full of sexy men. And now it's time for us to take on Giovanni for the third and final time, probably. He sends in a Rhyhorn, and we're going to send in Taffy. Going for a Surf, we can Oko the Rhyhorn, no problem. When the Dugtrio comes in, the Nidoqueen, the Nidoking, and finally his second Rhyhorn, all also go down in 1, and we've earned our Earth Badge. We run into Rando over on Route 22 on our way over to the Pokemon League, and it looks like he's developed a new chicken nugget system. His backpack has been replaced with an air fryer, with the Rattata running on a wheel to power it. He tells us that Ratty 2 will never succumb to the same food poisoning that his father did, and for some reason, another battle begins. A quick attack does a little bit of damage to us, and we follow up with a Thunderbolt, grabbing the Oko on the Pidgeot. Next up is going to come his Rhyhorn, in a huge twist where he doesn't send in Gyarados next, but he does go for a takedown on Salad, and we can follow up with a Razor Leaf, grabbing the Oko. Next in is his Alakazam, and afraid of a Psychic move, we're going to swap out into Beam, but all he does is try to disable us. On the following turn, he goes for a Psychic, doing some decent damage to us, and we can follow up with a Shadow Ball, getting the Oko. Next up is going to come his Gyarados, who's going to intimidate us. So we're going to swap out and send Gumball back in as he goes for a Hydro Pump. On the next turn, we outspeed, going for a Thunderbolt, taking down the Gyarados. Next in is going to come as an Execute. So we're going to send in Bean as he misses a Stun Spore. We can follow up with a Flamethrower, grabbing the KO. Finally, when his Charizard comes in, it hits us with a Wing Attack, doing some decent damage as we go for a Shadow Ball, doing about a third. We're going to pivot out, sending in Taffy as he comes in with another Wing Attack. But then, once we can go for a Surf, we can safely take down the Charizard, defeating Rando. Alright, with our final team set, let's take one quick look before we head in to face off against the Elite Four. We have Gumball the Electrode with Thunderbolt, Explosion, Shockwave, and Light Screen. Drummy the Fearow with Drill Peck, Pursuit, Fly, and Steel Wing. Salad the Venusaur with Giga Drain, Earthquake, Leech Seed, and Toxic. Beam the Flareon with Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, Dig, and Bite. Pizza the Raticate with Secret Power, Dig, Quick Attack, and Shadow Ball. And finally, Taffy the Golduck with Surf, Ice Beam, Confusion, and Calm Mind. Our first opponent is going to be against Lorelei and her Ice Pokemon. Lori starts off by sending in her Dugong, and we're going to send in Gumball. Going for a Thunderbolt, we can manage to take the Dugong down in just one shot. And the thing about most Ice Pokemon in Gen 1 is that they're not just ice, they're also water. So with the exception of her Lapras and her Jinx, every single one of her Pokemon go down in just one shot, but it only takes 2 for the other 2. And with that, we're moving on to Bruno. And next up is going to be Bruno and his fighting Pokemon. And his Pokemon are so bulky, burly, fighty boys that they're pincered by 2 Onixes. When he sends in his first Onix, I'm going to take this opportunity to set up a couple of Calm Minds, as he goes in for a Rock Tomb, lowering my speed. With 2 Calm Minds up, we're then going to go for a Surf, grabbing the Yoko on Onix. When his Hitmonchan comes in next, it's going to outspeed us, going for a Sky Uppercut, doing some good damage. But a Confusion is more than enough to take down this Hitmonchan. Next in is going to come his Hitmonlee. And honestly, I'm a little scared of it, so we're going to swap out into Drummy as he misses a Mega Kick. When we go for a Drill Peck, we can grab the Yoko on the Hitmonlee. In next is going to come his Ace Machamp as we go for another Drill Peck, getting him down to effectively nothing, but all he does is go for a Bulk Up, fortunately. On the following turn, Bruno's going to use his first full restore, so we're going to go for another Drill Peck, getting him down pretty low, and then a second one will grab the KO. Finally, his second Onix comes in, so we're going to swap out, sending in Salad as it goes for a Double Edge, doing basically nothing to us. And then going for a Giga Drain, we can get the Onix down in just one shot, and we are moving on to Agatha. And now it's time for us to take on Agatha and her ghost Pokemon. She starts off by sending in her first Gengar, and we're going to send in Pizza. A Shadow Ball from Pizza manages to grab the Oko on the Gengar. When her Golbat comes in next, we go for a Secret Power, getting him down just below half as the Golbat sets up a Confuse Ray. After slapping ourselves in the face and getting smacked with an Air Cutter down below half, we're going to swap out, sending in Bean as another Air Cutter comes in. After unfortunately getting poisoned, we go for a Shadow Ball and can pick up the KO on a Golbat. Out next is going to be your Arbok, so we're going to swap out and send in Salad instead as a Sludge Bomb comes in, smacking us down a lot more than I thought it would. Salad then can go for an Earthquake, getting the Arbok down pretty low as a Screech lowers our defense, but one more Earthquake can get the KO. Next up is going to be your Haunter. So after we fail at throwing a bunch of seeds at us, we take a nap, so we're going to swap out into Taffy just in time for it to curse itself. And after using a Surf, the Haunter goes down, which leads into her last Gengar. Needing to get away from the curse damage, we swap out into Gumball, who immediately gets put to sleep and smacked pretty hard with a Sludge Bomb. After getting knocked down super low with a Nightmare, we swap out into Drummy, going for a Drill Peck, doing some massive damage. Unfortunately for us, the Gengar Citrus Berry puts it outside of healing range, so one more hit knocks it out, and we defeat Agatha. And now it's going to be time for us to take on Lance and his Dragon Pokemon. Lance starts off by sending in Gyarados, and we send in Gumball. First thing we're going to do is go for a quad-effective Thunderbolt, and we're going to Oko the Gyarados, no problem. His next Pokemon is going to be his first Dragonair, and I'm going to use this opportunity to set up a Light Screen as he sets up a Safeguard. We then swap into Taffy, who can tank the Outrage like a boss now that the Light Screen's up, and we take this opportunity to fire back with an Ice Beam, grabbing the Yoko on the Dragonair. Out next comes his second Dragonair, and the exact same thing happens here. And what can I say about his Ace Dragonite, except for the fact that Ice Beam is twice as effective as it was against his Dragonairs. Finally, his Aerodactyl comes in, which we can also KO in just one, and with that, we're moving on to the championship battle. As we enter the champion's chamber, we hear whirling, buzzing, and beeping. As we look around the room, we see that there are hundreds of Rattatas, all on wheels, running, powering the biggest air fryer that you have ever seen.
Welcome to Ratty's Nuggets, may I take your order?
Rando, what have you done? You can't open a fast casual chain restaurant here, inside of the Indigo Plateau. You have to have 8 badges to come in here. You have to defeat the Elite Four to get this far. Your customer base is minuscule at best. This is a horrible business model. Next up in a surprise twist, he sends in his Rhydon, so we need to pivot, sending in Salad. And after he makes a funny face at us, 1 Giga Drain can Oko the Rhydon, no problem. His Alakazam is out third, so we're gonna pivot, switching into Bean as he sets up a Reflect. A Psychic does some pretty good damage to us, and when we can strike back with a Shadow Ball, we manage to get a crit, avoiding the Reflect, getting the Oko. Out next is Gyarados, so we're going to swap out, sending Gumball back in as a Hydro Pump comes in, doing some decent damage to us. But a Thunderbolt is going to be all it takes to take out this monster. Next up is his Exeggutor, so we're going to swap out and send Bean back in as an Egg Bomb does some good damage to us. But once we can fire back with a Flamethrower, the Exeggutor doesn't stand a chance. His final Pokemon, Charizard, comes in. So we swap out and send Tappy in as he goes and fires off a Fire Blast, doing some solid damage to us. But once we can go for a Surf, we grab the Oko, KOing the Charizard, defeating Rando, becoming the Kanto League champion, and taking over his Chicken Nugget fast casual chain. We're going to expand everywhere to Johto and beyond. 1 down, 8 to go. If you liked the video, please make sure that you show your support down below by liking the video, maybe leaving a comment, and hey, why don't you hit that subscribe button? I would love to get to 25,000 by the end of this year, and I need all your help to do it. So any support you can show me would be amazing, and I really hope you all like this series. I typically do Infinite Fusion runs, so I've been having a lot of fun just playing the vanilla games. But anywho, I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya!